One of the systems he studies is baseball. And one of the questions he asks is, whatever happened to the 400 hitter?
There's nothing more widely discussed among baseball fans than the disappearance of 400 hitting. And especially in an age of nostalgia, one tends to think that the reason for that has to do with the failure of greatness. There were giants in the earth in those days, and now they don't make them the way they used to.
Giants like Wee Willie Keeler, who hit 432 in 1897, or Rogers Hornsby, who hit 424 in 1924. But since Ted Williams hit 406 in 1941, there has not been a single 400 hitter. If athletes in most sports have been getting better over time, why do baseball players seem to be getting worse? Some blame night baseball, or the grueling schedules of today's teams, or a general improvement in pitching. But according to Gould, all of these conventional explanations are based on a false assumption.
You have to look at it as a statistical problem. 400 hitting is not a thing. It's not a phenomenon. It's the right tail of a normal distribution of batting averages. What you have to look is at the whole statistical distribution of batting averages. The average batting average for full-time players has been, throughout the last 100 years, about 260. Not only has it remained at 260, but those who set the rules of baseball have subtly adjusted the rules so that the balance between hitting and pitching has been preserved and has remained at about 260. What has happened is that the standard deviation has characteristically and continually decreased in an almost law-like fashion.
We see here the distribution of batting averages in the 1870s. The mean at 260, the standard deviation at .049. Over the years, the mean has remained constant, but the standard deviation has steadily decreased.
And that's why you have no more 400 hitters. The mean value is the same, and the standard deviation has just decreased. So you have fewer of the highest averages and fewer of the lowest averages. Now, that's a statistical description of what happened, but it doesn't solve our problem. We want to know why the standard deviation has decreased. That's obviously the interesting question. And I think the reason there is that everybody has gotten better. It's the only sensible explanation. You see, baseball is not like running a foot race. When you're running a mile race, there's an absolute standard. And as athletes get better and better, people do it quicker and quicker, and that's what happened. But baseball isn't like that. Baseball is a balance between hitting and pitching. Now, if everybody gets better, the hitters get better and the pitchers get better. So the average batting average remains 260.
Coyote hits one high and deep to left field.
Now, there's got to be an absolute limit of human excellence. There's just physiologically so much a body can do. And let's assume that the greatest players of history, like Ty Cobb and Rogers Hornsby, were men who stood very near that absolute limit of human excellence. Now, back in 1900, when the average player was nowhere near as good as they are today, the average batting average was still 260, and that was sitting down here. Ty Cobb and Rogers Hornsby were way up here. They were as close to the limits of human excellence as you could possibly be. And the average player was somewhere down here. So the distribution, the deviation of a Ty Cobb from the average was enormous, and he hit 400. What's happened is that everybody has gotten better. So the average hitter and pitchers moved up here, so to speak. But the batting average is still 260 because they're in balance. A man like Wade Boggs, who is now sitting near that limit of excellence and who would have hit 420, I'm convinced, or more back in 1900, is sitting where Ty Cobb sat. He's sitting near that limit of human excellence. But the average has gotten so much closer to that limit that he can't hit 400 anymore. He's averaging 350 or 360, which is a wonderful average. That's all that's happened. The standard deviation has decreased because the sport has gotten so much better.
They're off, and the breaking ball is hit toward right field. Castillo going back on the warning track.
Departure of 400 hitting, ironically, is not a sign that greatness is gone. It's, in fact, a measure of the increase of the skill of the average athlete.